therefore, should help scale up what is working to make the Africa Green Revolution a reality in every part of our continent. This time, we cannot afford to fail. We must succeed. Let the agricultural giant in Africa arise. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Peter Pinda. Now, it is truly a pleasure to be celebrating this particular occasion of the African Green Revolution Forum's arrival right here in Accra, the vibrant capital of Ghana. Ghana captured the attention of Africa and, in fact, the entire world with a dynamic run at the World Cup in South Africa. And all eyes were on Ghana when they welcomed United States President Barack Obama on his first presidential visit to Africa, in this very room, in fact. Ghana then demonstrated leadership in government and in its agricultural programs. They've proven a great success as part of the Agra Breadbasket Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a country on the rise. Please help me welcome on stage His Excellency, Vice President John Dramani Mahama.
Former Vice President of Ghana and my predecessor, Alhaji Aliu Mahama, members of the Council of State, His Excellency Mr. Kofi Annan, Chairman of the Agra Board and former UN Secretary General, President of Agra, President of IFAD, CEO of Yara International, President of the Global Development Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, President of Rockefeller Foundation, Honorable Ministers, Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, development partners, NGOs, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. My duty is a very simple one, to welcome you on behalf of the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Atta Mills, to our beautiful country and to this forum. Permit me to take the opportunity to welcome all of you to Ghana, especially for those of you who are here for the first time. I want to say a very warm Akwaba to you. And in Ghana, when we say Akwaba, Akwaba means welcome. And I hope that aside from your heavy schedule of attending this forum, you'll find the opportunity to visit some of the beautiful attractions that our country has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in the history of people and continents when monumental decisions that will positively affect the current and future generations yet unborn have to be taken. And I believe that we've come to one such moment. For the people of India, that moment was in 1961, when on the brink of mass famine, Dr. Norman Borlaug of blessed memory, who had distinguished himself helping Mexican agriculture, was invited by an advisor to the Indian Ministry of Agriculture to help avoid the impending mass starvation. With the help of Ford Foundation and others, India began what we call her Green Revolution program. The initiative involved the development of high-yielding varieties of cereal grains, expansion of irrigation infrastructure, distribution of hybrid seeds, distribution of fertilizers and pesticides at subsidized prices to farmers. And thus, from the brink of farming in 1961, today India is largely able to feed her population of about 1 billion. That is almost equivalent to the population of the entire African continent. Mr. Chairman, for Africa, the time is now, and it is therefore a great source of pride for me personally and for the people of Ghana that another great son of Ghana and Africa, His Excellency Mr. Kofi Annan, former UN Secretary General, is in the lead for the push for a green revolution in Africa with the support of many distinguished individuals and organizations. I remember quite clearly in the final years of his work as UN Secretary General, in one of the many interviews he was giving, a question was asked what he wanted to do upon retirement from the UN. And one of the areas he said he wanted to work in was agriculture. This was taken literally, and I read a newspaper cartoon that showed him and his wife with a hoe on his shoulder walking to the farm. I guess today we see what he meant by he was going to work in agriculture. He was not only going to personally take part in agriculture, but assist in an effort to increase the productivity of African farmers. The objective of AGRA is to help ensure Africa's current and future food security needs through the implementation of a truly comprehensive and sustainable African Green Revolution based on commercialization of agriculture along the entire value chain. Let me congratulate AGRA on behalf of the continent of Africa for providing the leadership required to accomplish this revolution. Essentially, what do you need for agriculture? You need good land, you need abundant sunshine, you need plenty water. And let anybody tell me which continent has a better comparative advantage in these resources than Africa has. We are aware that there have been numerous attempts to introduce some of the successful concepts from the Indian Green Revolution into Africa with limited successes. Among the many reasons given for the limited success of Green Revolution in Africa are the lack of infrastructure, but above all, it stated a general lack of political will on the parts of many African governments. This is in addition to factors such as low-yielding seed varieties, high cost of fertilizer, lack of irrigation facilities, and the high diversity in soil types that we find in Africa. The low level of education coupled with low absorptive capacity of farmers to absorb new technology has also been identified as a contributory factor. Indeed, some people have had the audacity to say that Africa doesn't need a green revolution because the conditions for a green revolution in Africa are not and have never been present. They argue that the Indian Green Revolution was institutional as well as agronomic, with the state providing the extensive infrastructural support needed for making this transformation possible and successful. Distinguished invited guests, I believe I'll be speaking for the entire continent of Africa by rejecting the notion that Africa does not need a green revolution, because the conditions for a green revolution in Africa are not and have never been in place. For me, as for all of you assembled here, the building blocks for a green revolution in Africa are being laid by various African governments through their efforts at improving the continent's governance architecture, by building more capable, reliable, and transparent institutions, by nurturing a vibrant private sector, investing more in infrastructure and in the future generations of Africans through the expansion of secondary and tertiary education. Indeed, we must all take the blame for the lost decades, where the implementation of structural adjustment programs under the watchful eye of the international financial institutions meant that we had to pull out all subsidies to what was perceived as inefficient production of African farmers. For almost 2 decades, that is the 80s and the 90s, the macroeconomic indices of our economy were more important than how much government invested in agriculture, which in many cases in all our countries employed more than 60% of our populations. I remember as a young boy growing up in Tamale in the northern part of Ghana, our former head of state, General Achampong, visited the north on a working visit, and he christened the northern part of Ghana the granary of Ghana. Indeed, he was so impressed at what he saw. There were rice processing mills processing homegrown rice for the local market and even for export. There were vegetable oil mills processing oil seeds to provide cooking oil for the local market and for export. There were cotton ginneries processing lint cotton for both local consumption and export. There were tomato factories and indeed several other viable agricultural processing going on. The question we ask is, what happened? Today, a lot of these factories are in a sorry state after the period of the 80s and the 90s. We focus structural adjustment, like I said, on macroeconomic indices. And indeed, it is a tragedy that it's taking us 2 decades to realize that we were wrong. If we're interested in reducing